Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are brand new, my name is Candace and I'm so grateful that you guys are here following along on my journey with me. So this week I thought it would be really good for me to do a video about what pregnancy after infertility has taught me. So very grateful to be pregnant after 10 years of infertility, after 2 failed IUIs and 2 rounds of IVF. So I think the first thing that pregnancy after infertility has taught me is just to be mindful of others and mindful of others on their journey. I know way back in the day, I was one of those people when I would meet a couple, I would be like, hey, you have kids? When you gonna have kids, you know? And that was before I realized how hurtful that question can be, even though it's nothing like, you know, even though you don't think that it could be hurtful, but you never know what people are going through. And so I remember when someone asked me that question right after I found out one of our fertility treatments had failed, and it was just devastating for me. And so I think that the first and foremost thing that I've learned about you know, after being pregnant, after dealing with infertility, is just to be mindful of others and to always think of others in that situation before you ask questions, or before, you know, before I post something on social media, before I post a video. I always want to be mindful of those that are still in the wait. And I think that is, you know, one of the first things that pregnancy after infertility has taught me. The next thing that I've learned on my journey through infertility and now being pregnant is to be grateful for everything. And so I think when you're in a wait for something, and it could be a wait for anything, you could be waiting for whatever, a healing, financial breakthrough, spouse, whatever. I think when you're in the wait for something, it's even more important for you to dig deeper and think of those things that you are grateful for, because sometimes those things can consume you. So if you are constantly thinking about trying to get pregnant, trying to have a baby, that can just take over everything. It can take over your mind. And so I learned to be grateful for everything, even though I was in a wait, and even though I felt like I was being left behind or forgotten about. But I started learning to be grateful for even just the smallest things, you know, grateful for life. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for the sunshine, for my friends, for my family. And even now, you know, being pregnant after waiting for so many years, I've learned to be grateful. You guys will never, ever, ever, ever hear me complain about anything dealing with pregnancy. And even though pregnancy has been one of the more challenging things that I have gone through, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful when I was nauseous, or when I can't get comfortable because my stomach's getting bigger, or all those things. You have just more of a grateful heart for things that, you know, you never thought you would get to experience. And even when you're still in the wait, it's good just to be grateful for anything that you can find that is good in your life. So I think that's the other thing that pregnancy after infertility has taught me, is just to be grateful for everything. Next thing that this journey has taught me is to have faith. So for so long, you know, I allowed my infertility journey to push me away from God. I was so angry and I was so frustrated, and you know, there were times, and you know, when I was like, I don't even want to pray anymore. I don't know what to pray anymore. I don't want to read scriptures anymore. And that went on for a very long time. And then you just get to a point where you need to lean on someone, or you need like that higher power to kind of gain your strength from. And so, you know, at that point, that's when the infertility pushed me closer to God. And so I know everyone isn't a believer and isn't a Christian, but I do believe that in my journey, I have learned how to have a deeper level of faith, and knowing that it's not my plan, it's not how I would have wanted my life to be, but I know that there is a greater plan for my life. And so it has definitely taught me how to have greater faith, and how to lean more on God and read my Bible, and you know, find scriptures that will help. And so I definitely think that that's another thing that I have learned on my journey. The other thing that I've learned is that you need to share your story. So for so many years, I was afraid of sharing my story and ashamed of my story. But I think in sharing your story, other people need to hear it. And it really is one of those things that it does make you feel better. It's so hard to go through something alone and you feel like you're the only one dealing with it. So once I began sharing my story, it really helped me to kind of get through what I was going through. And you know, meeting other people who have been telling me that, you know, they've been inspired by our journey, and that, you know, really means the world to me when you can use something that has for so long been something that was so difficult for you, and then you can begin to use it for someone else. It's like an amazing feeling. And so that's another thing that I have learned, is that, you know, my story isn't any more special or amazing than anyone else's story, but if we all were to share our story and not be afraid of, you know, the taboos, or not be afraid to talk about loss or infertility or IVF, I think that it would help so many other people feel less alone on their journey as well. The next thing I think that it has taught me is that infertility never leaves you. So even though right now I am pregnant with our IVF baby, infertility isn't something I'm just like, oh, phew, glad that's over, and I just like brushed it under the rug. It's still a part of me, and it will always be a part of me. And I think I've said this before in a previous video. It's a part of my story. It's a part of, it has made me who I am now, and it has brought me so many amazing friends that I've, you know, met over the internet, through YouTube, through Instagram. And so I don't think it ever leaves you. It never becomes something where you're like, oh, you know, glad that's over with, now I can move on to the next thing. Because whenever I tell my story of my pregnancy or my story of my marriage, I have to always include my infertility story, because it's a part of my journey and it's a part of what has made me the strong person that I am today. So I don't think that infertility ever leaves you. I think the other thing that I've learned is to fight for what you believe in. I've always said this, I always say this on my channel, is to be your own advocate. So many people go to doctors who are prescribing medication or offering, you know, different solutions that are not right for that particular couple. And I think it's important for us to remember that we are the ones that are spending the money with the doctor. So we have to do our own research. We have to be informed. And it's not to say that we know more than doctors, or, you know, Google tells us what we need to know. But, you know, and I've said it before, when we did our IUIs back in the day, we should have never been able to do those IUIs, because just on paper, they would have never been successful because of different factors for me and my husband. So you have to fight for what you believe in. You have to keep doing that. If you have to find 4 new doctors, find another doctor, or if you have to travel to a better, you know, rated fertility clinic, then by all means, I believe that's what you need to do. And that's what this journey has taught me, is that you need to fight for what you believe in. The journey has also taught me how strong I am. I never would have ever thought that I would have been able to deal with 10 years of infertility if you would have told me that in the beginning of my marriage. I don't think I would have ever thought I would have had to go through IVF or you know, any of that stuff. And so sometimes I think we're faced with situations that teach us how strong we really are, because sometimes we might count ourselves out, or we might say, oh, I could never do that. And so I think this journey has taught me really how strong I am and how much I really can endure. And I'm really grateful for that. And so I think it has made me definitely a stronger person, because I've learned that things are not always within my control. And so I have to, you know, kind of take whatever life kind of gives me and keep rolling with it. I think the next thing is that life doesn't always go as planned, which is kind of goes along with the last point that I said. I think we always have life planned out the way we want it to be, and we say by this age I want this, and by this age I want that, and then things don't go as planned. And so it's like, okay, that didn't go as planned, so now what, you know? We were married at like 24 years old, and so for me, I was like, oh, by 25, 26 we'll be having our first kid. I'll be done having kids by the time I'm 30. and we'll move on to something else. But of course life didn't go that way, so I had to figure out how to pretty much play the hand that I was dealt with life. And so and I think that's the beauty of it sometimes. And sometimes you're just like, oh, I just wish things would go according to my plan. But sometimes that's the beauty of it, because you don't always know how things are going to turn out. So you know, kind of take a different path to get where you're trying to go, and it just ends up being something even more amazing than you probably planned for your own life. So that brings me to my last point, which is the last thing I believe that infertility has taught me and pregnancy after infertility has taught me. And I think it has taught me my purpose, because for so long I kind of wondered what to do. And I'm not trying to say like this is like my thing that I do now, but I do love encouraging others in the wait. I love being an advocate for infertility, and I love meeting other people on the journey and encouraging them. And so I do believe that infertility has taught me just a different purpose in life that I would have never known before. I would have never thought that I would be making YouTube videos or be on social media. I already said this so many times, I'm a very introverted person. I'm very much to myself. I'm a very private person. So I think dealing with this journey and opening up about my journey has kind of given me my purpose, where I do feel led to encourage others and to do whatever it is that I can to share my story so that others don't feel alone on their journey. And I think in going through all of this, it has given me somewhat of a purpose. And I would have never thought that I would actually enjoy doing YouTube videos as much as I do, or writing blog posts as much as I do, but I actually really do. And so I think sometimes life, you know, throws a curveball at us, and we think it's a curveball, but it's actually kind of pushing us in the direction we're supposed to be going anyway. So I think that's probably one of the last things that pregnancy after infertility has taught me. It has given me somewhat of a purpose, and has allowed me to do something that I absolutely love. And I'm just excited to see what the future holds and how I will be able to continue to share my story, and what other opportunities will come to me to be able to meet more people, to be able to encourage others and to inspire others, and to tell people my story and let them know that they aren't alone. So I really think that's all that I could think of that pregnancy after infertility has taught me. I'm sure there's so many more things, but I think those are the main things that I've learned from this journey. I know many of you guys have been following me for a very long time, but I have gained a lot of new subscribers. So yeah, I've been on a 10-year journey trying to conceive, and my husband and I finally did IVF earlier in the spring, well, the winter time, and then we had our transfer in the spring. And so I'm currently 21 weeks pregnant with our miracle baby. I'm just so grateful to be able to share my story, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you guys and your support. And I think that's it for the week. I want to always let you guys know, any of my ladies that are in a wait, or that are preparing for a fertility treatment, or anything like that, and trying naturally, whatever it is you are doing, wherever it is you find yourself, I want to let you guys know that I'm always thinking of you and praying for you. My social media and my email is down below. I get a lot of you guys that reach out to me. I try to offer as much support as I can, and I try to cheer as many of you guys on as I can. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to thank you guys so much for your support, and I hope you have an amazing week. I'll be back next time with another update. Bye.